Greetings from Florida. It is hot. It ain't even summer yet and it's hot down here. I don't know where you live, but it's hot in Florida. This ain't sweat, by the way. I just want you to know I'm not making this video. I mean, even though I have been sweating, I'm not making this video like nasty. It's just that my towel wet and my shirt sucks up right there. It's hot, what can I say? But today's video is not one where I'm going to tell you, well, I was listening to this one preacher. I was just, this verse just came to my mind. I actually had another passage I want to preach from today, but I'm just waiting on some message from God on that one. But this one came to mind, and I got to thinking about it. I might have heard it on the radio, who knows? But I got to thinking about it. The more I got to thinking about it, the more well, let's just go ahead and read it. Well, we'll start. We're going to be in Isaiah 53, and if you know about, well, it's a long book, Isaiah, but if you know, there's a lot of prophecies about Jesus in Isaiah. 53 is one of them. And not sure exactly where to start here. But, you know, he's talking about all these things about Jesus. We'll start in 4. Why not? Surely he hath borne our griefs and carried our sorrows. Yet we did esteem him stricken, smitten of God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way, and the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. Can I just take a little break there and say, thank God for that. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He is brought out as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before her shearers is dumb, so he opened not his mouth. He was taken from prison and from judgment, and who shall declare his generation? For he was cut off out of the land of the living. For the transgression of my people was he stricken. And he made his grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, because he had done no violence, neither was any deceit in his mouth. And here's the verse that I've been thinking about. Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. Right there, though, verse 10, yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. And I got to thinking about that one. If you're like a new Christian, new to the faith, or maybe you're not a Christian, maybe you're an unbeliever, and you're kind of like just kind of going through the Bible and the things of Christianity, trying to figure out, is this for me? You know? But that verse right there can kind of take you by surprise. I mean, there's some other two verses that can be contested when it comes to people who don't understand. But that verse right there, and yet it pleased God to please the Lord to bruise him, and people can get to thinking, how on earth can God look down upon his son hanging on the cross just in pure agony? And I can assure you, unless crucifixion makes a comeback, I mean, I guess it is in the Middle East a little bit, terrorist. But unless you're ever going to be crucified, we'll probably never understand the amount of pain that's involved in that. And God looked down on it, on his son, and it pleased him. And I quoted on Facebook one time this quote I made up that came to me, that God turned his back on Jesus so he wouldn't have to turn his back on us. And certainly you can see that in this verse here. It pleased God to see him suffer. And why is that? Because God sees the bigger picture. And you you got to keep that in mind when you're reading that verse. And when you got to go back even further, I was thinking in Genesis, Adam and Eve, they got the whole garden themselves. Do whatever you want. Just don't eat of that tree right there. They ate of the tree anyway. And God had to kick them out of the garden. And people can be like, oh, well, Adam and Eve and God, they had this great relationship, and then Adam and Eve messed it up, and then God had to change his plan. God, I can assure you, God has never changed his plans. We cannot make God change his plans. God's plan for salvation existed before we even were created. Before he even spoke the world into existence, he had that plan. He knew what was going to happen. He knew he was going to create Adam and Eve. He knew they were going to eat of the tree. He knew what was going to have to happen. And when he gets to this point where they're talking about Jesus dying on the cross, even though this is just prophecy at this point, it pleased God to bruise him because God's looking at it. And we're looking at it like, oh man, he's suffering in agony on the cross. God's looking at it as like, my plan. This is my plan. I started it back there, and it's coming to fruition right here. So he was pleased to see that happen. Not that it was avoidable. He pleases God to see the plan. What's that dude from the A-Team say? I love it when a plan comes together. And Jesus hanging on that cross was God's plan coming together. And so just keep that in mind. Whenever you're going through your trials, my finances are so terrible. My health is so terrible. Got a bad marriage. Whatever it is that you could possibly be going through, and you're just like, Lord, I don't understand this. I don't understand why you're doing this. Just remember, there's a bigger picture. There is a bigger picture involved. You might not see it, you might not understand it, but if you put your faith in God, God sees a bigger picture. Why is that? Well, you can be like, God, I'm going through this time. I don't understand why it's happening to me, and I don't see the bigger picture, but I know the one who painted it. God painted the bigger picture. He knows what the bigger picture is. So just put your faith in him, trust in him, and you won't have to worry about that. I mean, yeah, you'll still go through troubles and stuff, but you'll have a knowledge, a hope that even though something bad is going on in your life, there's a bigger picture, and on down the road, you're going to get there. Just hang on to God. And that's what I had for you today. And I just want to say that I appreciate you if you watch these videos. I don't know how many people out there make videos like this, but I imagine it's a lot. And they probably do it 10 times better than I do. I mean, I just got started. Made my first video at first week of March. Of course, it's gone now because I deleted it. Posted it on Facebook. The first 4 I deleted. I don't have any more. They're gone. But I appreciate you watching because I have a passion for teaching the Bible and preaching it to you. I want to get better at it. I know I'm not good now, but I know I can get better. And I appreciate you listening to me and let me use this as my platform to train myself to get better. So I appreciate you watching. If you want to subscribe, that'd be even better. But until next time, take up your cross and carry on.